Hi Libra, hope you're well. This is Jill, Tarot by the Sea. Right, okay. I was using the Gilded Tarot. These are weekly readings. This is for the first week of November. I was using the Gilded Tarot, and I've just done your reading 3 times, and it is not flowing for me with the Gilded Tarot. So, I don't know whether I'm going to use these for the rest of the readings, but I'm going back to the Wisdom of the Oracle cards for yours, because I think we need a little bit more detail. Okay? I may clarify with the Gilded Tarot, but I need these ones. That's what I'm feeling for you. I decided to do weeklies rather than bi-weeklies because they'll be shorter. Not everyone has 40 minutes to sit and listen to a reading. So I'm going to do weeklies, and then I'm going to do a monthly using these ones, and then I am going to do Halloween readings for everyone. So, or I'm going to try to, it's quite ambitious, I'm going to try and get all the signs out and do one card for every month between October this year and November this year and November next year. I might even go as far as December, to be honest, and then you get an entire year's reading. Right, you have the thinker. Clean it up. I'm only going to do 3 cards because I get more out of these ones. And you have Imagine. Okay. Right, so my sense for you, you have the thinker, but you have it in reverse. Now, the 44 to me, for some reason, always makes me think of a firm foundation. I'm not quite sure why that is, but it does. So you have that in reverse. Then you have Clean It Up, and then you have Imagine, but you have Imagine in reverse. Numbers, we have 44, 21 and 20. So 20 is the end of a cycle to do with 2s. Right, so the thinker, pretty much what it says, it's the thinker. You have it in reverse. I get the feeling that you're not thinking about this anymore. There is something that has happened in the past that you are trying very hard to let go of. You're trying very hard to let go of it. And you're doing that by not thinking about it. Okay. If you look at the card, there is nothing left there. There is absolutely nothing left there. She has put everything away. Think of it as very minimalist. Okay. I'm getting the sense, if you know what a house looks like when you're about to move out, and it's just everything's been put away and it's just an empty shell of a building, and there is none of your stuff there, and there are no distractions, there is nothing, it's just cold and it's empty, and you look at it, and yes, it's your house or your old house, but you're ready for a new start. Okay, so you have your memories, and you're ready for a new start, and you're ready to leave that space behind and move on to something else. And maybe you're moving on to a new phase in your life. Maybe for some of you, you are actually genuinely moving, and maybe that's what it is. But for a lot of you, it's like you've broken it down, you've cleared all the clutter. I'm actually getting, because I've got Clean It Up as the next card. So I'm just getting that continuing sense of like you've put all your stuff away, and now you're just cleaning. Now you're just cleaning out the rest of it. So whatever it was that you were leaving behind, whoever this resonates with, because it's not going to resonate with everyone because it's general reading, but whoever it is, you've been leaving all this stuff behind. You've compartmentalized, you've got your boxes here, you've compartmentalized everything. You've sat and you've spent a lot of time thinking about it, you've compartmentalized everything. Everything's quite clear in your head now, and you're okay, and you're just dealing with the final little bits of it, but you're ready to move on to a new phase in your life, which is really interesting, because you then have this Imagine card. Now that doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of your reading, because if you're ready to move into a new phase in your life, you would imagine it would be this way up, but it's not, it's this way up. But you're quite clear, you know, you've cleared everything up, everything's cleared up. Or maybe you haven't, maybe that's the thing, maybe for you, because this is in reverse, maybe it's all really cluttered still, and you're not quite sure how you're doing it, and you're trying to clear it up. You have to excuse me, can you hear my Dagoos in the background? They're making so much noise. Yeah, so basically, maybe you're still trying to clear it up, and you're not quite sure how you're going to do it. You can't see what's in front of you, you can't see the future ahead of you. It's still secret, and you can't quite see it. And you have these, you know you've got good things coming in, because you have these blessings from above, like this way, because you got it in reverse. And you know it's the end of the cycle, because it's a 20 card, okay? So, you know, that's the end of the cycle. And you're not right at the beginning of the new cycle, because that would be a 1. But you've kind of already started something. And maybe you're trying to learn something, because you can see this person here is reaching up to the moon. And the moon is always kind of like unseen information or knowledge and secrets and things like that. So maybe you've started some kind of education project or something. You're learning something new, or you're bringing with you this new knowledge. And it might be something to do, it might be some emotional stuff that you have, that you've learned from this situation. It could be something that is quite psychic, because I know Libras have been going through a bit of a spiritual awakening recently. And it could be something to do with that, so it could be that kind of thing. If you look very, very carefully at this, she's actually attached to the moon. So it could be that you've been going through something with Pisces or a Scorpio, and you're still quite attached to them. So let's pull another card, because that's not the end of a story. That's just basically telling you kind of where you are. So you've either boxed everything up and you're quite happy, and you've compartmentalised it, and your head's clear of clutter, and you're just finishing off the last little bit. Or else you're heading towards that, and you're still trying to do that, but it is what you're focused on. And you're not really sure of what you can see going forward yet. But you're not at the very beginning of a cycle, because you're at a 2 stage rather than a 1 stage. So you've kind of got a good idea, you've started moving forward. So let's take it into the future a little bit. So that's your present going into that week. And let's take it into the future a little bit. So what can Libra expect? That's where they are, but what can they expect? Pretty much. Come on, you can give me something better than that. Not taking that one. Not taking that one either. I have 2 cards for you. There's your 3rd. Okay. Right. It's about a period of transition, I think. So you're kind of in that phase. So you're already in your head clear, and you're just finishing off the last little bits. You're very, very close to completion. So if you're thinking that 10's the end of the cycle, then you're on a 9. Okay, you're on a 9.5 even. Then we have Between Worlds, but it's in reverse. So it's a number 3 card. So you've gone from the Imagine card, it's the end of the cycle of number 2, and you're going into a number 3. So you are moving forward. And my sense is that you're kind of moving from this into this. You're starting to come out of yourself a little bit, for some of you, because it is actually in reverse. So it could be, for some of you, you're starting to come out of it, and you're realising that life goes on, and you're ready for the next challenge. And you're quite happy about it. For some of you, however, because it's in reverse, some of you are still sitting in your heads. And this is what you're being asked to do. You're being asked to turn this card, the right way up. Because if you can turn this card the right way up, and you can set yourself some plans and some goals, okay, you're at the end of a 2 cycle. If you want to move into the 3 cycle, you need to start setting yourself some plans and some goals and have some idea of where you're going. Because at the moment, you're between worlds. And if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what will give you this sunshine, you're going to stay stuck here. So you need to be setting some plans and goals, and it means that you need to clean it up. You need to kind of just try and put the past behind you. I know it's easier said than done. I do know it's easier said than done. But you need to try and do this. You need to try and finish off this cycle. And for some of you, it's going to take a little while longer, but that's okay, because what I'm being told is that your emotions are valid, okay? You have a firm foundation. You need to put things into these boxes, and if it takes you a little bit longer, then it takes you a little bit longer. But try not to dwell. Start thinking about the things that will make you happy. If it means that you feed into your intuition, sit down and do a list of things that you want to achieve. Just try and get out of this cycle, this brown cycle, and try and get into the blue cycle. Okay. And then you can end this, and then you can start this, and you can make the transition. If that doesn't happen, you're going to be here, and it's an unfinished symphony. Now, it's a 10 card, but it's the end of the first cycle. So it's quite possible, if you can't move to a 3, it's starting to sound like a karmic cycle. If you can't move to a 3, you're going to go back to the end of the 1, and you're going to go through whatever the situation is again somewhere else. So this is why it's really, really important that you sit down and you start thinking about what it is that you want. Because if it's a karmic cycle, you need to get out of it, or else you're going to go back round the loop. I had that for somebody else. I don't know whether it was for you last time. But I had it for someone last time. I know I did. And you have fairy wings. You have fairy wings. You have all these opportunities. You just need to reach out and grab them. And again, you have these 2 colours. You have the browns of the original cycle, and then you have the blues of the new cycle. So you're capable of doing this, Libra. You are capable of doing this. It's just, are you ready? Do you want to go through the same cycle again? Sometimes it's incredibly hard to know how to get out of it. If you're suffering from depression or something like that, and you're isolating yourself from other people, and you're not looking at the opportunities that are around you, and everything looks dark and bleak, and you're on your own, yeah, and you're feeling really, really low, and you don't seem to be able to shift it, You don't seem to be able to shake it off. It might be worth getting some professional help. Okay. I know it's a big step to do that. I know it's a big step to admit that there might be something wrong. But there is no shame in it. There is no shame in it. And we need to take really good care of ourselves. Libra are only really happy when they are balanced, and things do knock us off balance, particularly if something's been unfair. We do get knocked off balance, and because Libras are such nice people, they fight with their own thoughts because they try and re-establish balance, and they try to be fair to everyone. So you sit there and you go through this cycle of, well, they did this and it was really, really wrong. And then you try and justify it because you think, oh, I'm being really unfair to that person and they must have done it for a reason. And, they must have done it for a reason and I'm being really unfair. And then you start being really hard on yourself. And then you think, well, what did I do? And, was I fair? And, was I balanced? And did I do something wrong? And you're good ones for blaming yourself. You're not as bad as Virgo, because Virgo are just incredibly self-critical, but Libra really are. And if you have Earth in your chart, if you have Virgo in your chart, then you're going to be doubly beating yourself up. And a lot of it with Libras is Libras don't really get angry about stuff. They try and balance things in their head. And do you know what, Libra? Sometimes you just can't balance things. Sometimes people didn't have a reason for being a complete arse. Sometimes they just were. Okay, yes, maybe you did do something, but that doesn't give them an excuse to treat you the way that they did, okay? And you can't always balance the scales. You can balance your own scales and you can get yourself back in balance, but you can't always balance somebody else's scales because everyone is on their own karmic journey. I talked in the last Sagittarius reading about soulmates, and sometimes the people who are our soulmates are the ones that cause us the biggest pain, the greatest amount of pain, and they cause us massive trauma and everything else. And they do this because it's to teach us a lesson. And if you keep referring back to your old frame of reference, you will go back into the same karmic cycle. And you will end up in this unfinished symphony because you haven't learned the karmic lesson, okay? And until you do, until you learn this new way of looking at things and have a new perspective, sometimes life just sucks, and that is the thing with Libra. It's like you try and balance everything and make everything lovely and sweet and for everybody, but sometimes you just can't. And sometimes things just aren't fair. But what I would say to you is if you don't want to go through the cycle again, you need to stop ruminating. You need to stop these thoughts going around in your head and trying to make it fair, because sometimes it isn't, and I know that knocks you off balance. And maybe you need to talk to someone. Maybe you need to talk to someone, and maybe you just need someone to sit down with you and give you another perspective on what happened. And I don't mean your friends, because your friends will tend to take your side. Or if you've been going on about this for ages because it's been an ongoing thing, maybe they're just sick of listening to it, to be honest with you. Because there's nothing they can do. Something like cognitive behavioural therapy is really good because it teaches you a different way of looking at your thoughts. It teaches you a different way of handling your thoughts and managing your thoughts. So something like that might be quite good because it's very interactive as well, and it gives you the power to actually change your thought processes. So maybe that might be something you might want to think about. It's really hard to admit sometimes that sometimes things just aren't fair, that sometimes they're not. Okay, the universe is always on our side, but it's on our side on a soul level, and we are here to learn lessons, and we're here to learn lessons in a sphere of experience that is bigger than us. So things that as a human being within our ego we think are really, really unfair, actually in terms of our soul growth may be very, very good for us. And we will take that with us. And sometimes on a human level, those things are really good for us as well, and we move further into our lives with this new knowledge and this new perspective, and it can change things dramatically. But we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this unfinished symphony, okay? Do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. I'm not being harsh with you. I know how incredibly difficult it is for you sometimes, and I know how incredibly difficult it is for anyone to be treated badly, but or to feel that maybe they've treated somebody else badly, even as the other option. But for Libra, it really, really does. It knocks you off balance, and that doesn't work for you because that's not who you are. I'm going to leave it there. I will be back in a week's time. This is only over the course of a week. Okay, it feels like this spreads out for longer. It feels like it's a bigger message. But this is a week's reading. I will be back in a week. I will be back at Halloween. And as soon as these ones are done, I'm going to try and get the Novembers out. I hope it resonated with you. I hope you don't feel stuck. Do get help. Do get help if you have to. Okay. Sit down and write a list of all the beautiful things that could happen in your life that would be amazing for you, and then start reaching for them. Okay, I know it's hard to do when you're not feeling at your best, but go for it. Go for it, and write down your blessings. Somebody said to me once, before you go to bed every night, think of 10 things that you're thankful for. 10 things that you have that you're thankful for. And I actually found that it was a really useful thing to do when I was feeling quite low and feeling everything was going the wrong way. Try it, give it a go. It won't hurt. Anyway, have a good one, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care, lots of love.